All right, man, we're rolling along here on Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Raiders, of course, today's show. And all of our shows across our Thursday podcasting network here on the Locked On Podcast Network is presented by PrizePicks. Download the app and use the code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. All right, game predictions. I ain't going to even try to predict the score. Let's do this. Let's do a baseball score. 2-1. How about that, right? Yeah, man. We got to find some juice in Vegas. If anything, Vegas ain't missing juice. So when you said they lack juice, I'm like, in Vegas, maybe the juice is what they had, and that's why they played like they couldn't play.
I don't know, but it was 15-9 Monday Night Football, Falcons and Raiders. Like, that is the most uninspiring game, and the Falcons got something to play for. They're trying to, get into the playoffs, and even they couldn't generate any juice. So shame on them, shame on the Raiders. I don't know, man. This is going to be an interesting game. Like I said earlier, I feel like Aiden O'Connell is trending in the right direction to get back out there. So if there's something to look for, and that's what I've been kind of doing the last few weeks, not really even talking about who's going to win or lose, because I just don't know, to be honest with you, and I don't want to represent the actual expectations of the game. But I'll just say straight up, to see if Aiden O'Connell could get adapted to what Scott Turner is doing as the offensive coordinator. Can Scott Turner be the offensive coordinator long term, or is the conversation about him possibly joining Bill Belichick in North Carolina, is that real? Is that something that he's already thinking of? I'll say this: the offense didn't look very good after that report came out, so I don't know if you could tie 2 and 2 together, or if it's the fact that he was with Desmond Ridder as the quarterback. So there's that. I just want to really see who can step up, that's a young player that could show that they can be a part of this team moving forward. And then, as we talked about Brock Bowers so much in segment number 1 and what he's able to bring to the table, I'm hoping he could break some records, man. There's a few more records that are still there to be had. Puka Nacua, as a rookie, had 105 receptions, and Brock Bowers is at 90. So that's not a whole lot away. I mean, he can catch them in 3 games, and I think that Brock Bowers should be a guy you target 10 times anyway, but the last couple games, it hasn't been that for the Silver and Black. So I'd like to see Brock Bowers get a heavy dose of targets and maybe come away with a heavy dose of catches and get that much closer to Puka Nacua. Again, it's been a season where it's been disappointing, but he has been everything but disappointing. He has been fantastic. I'd love to see him go ahead and continue to get the awards and the accolades as a rookie.
So check this out. Non-quarterbacks, because everybody talks about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, rightfully so.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers, I did Locked On the NFL yesterday, and I said that Brian Thomas Jr. was going to win the Rookie of the Year, and David Harrison for the Commander said, no, he isn't. But he was talking about Jaden or Bo.
Yeah.
I did not know Brock Bowers almost had 100 catches. But let me get a load of this. If the draft was tomorrow, Brian Thomas Jr. would go top 5. Let me show you his stats. 64 receptions, 956 yards with 8 touchdowns, and he's played like 4 games without Trevor Lawrence. That's pretty damn good for that kid that was picked 23rd overall here in Jacksonville. So one of the things we can look at, and then they force-fed him the ball the other day. He had 10 catches. So we can at least get this view of these 2 fabulous rookies that I believe, barring injury, have a very, very big future. 2 SEC guys have a very big future in the National Football League. I'm going to go out on a limb. The Jaguars have enough to win because Trayvon Walker is very, very good. Trayvon Walker might make the Pro Bowl this year. Trayvon Walker in the last 2 years has like 19 sacks, and we still got 3 games to go. So I think he's their best defensive player. Brian Thomas Jr. is their best offensive player. And Mac Jones, while he's probably a career backup, and that has been substantiated by the way he plays sometimes, he's still very, very capable. Their offensive line is gelling, even though they're never going to be good enough, I believe, to win a championship unless they make changes. The Jaguars have some pieces, and they've been in a lot of close games, and they just find different ways to lose a game, which can be discouraging. But it sounds like it's way better than what the Raiders got. It's like the Raiders are just totally off the rails.
I mean, they're just it's not a good thing right now. And they fight hard, right? They play hard. Even the results, if you look at some of the scores, you say, oh, man, they got blown out. Not really. It just the wheels fell off at the very end. Even the game on Monday against the Falcons, I mean, like, they're 2 Hail Marys away from winning that game. I mean, they threw it into the end zone. The first one sailed out. The second one got intercepted, but they literally could have won that game. So it's been some tough losses for the Raiders. I feel like that they've got a lot of weight on their shoulders from this season, and it's just starting to crack through. It's starting to be too much, right, from all the changes that they've had and all the injuries that they've dealt with and changes at the quarterback position, who's in now, who's not in. It's been a lot. Jacoby Myers in the locker room told me that it's been a lot, right? He's just, and that's fair. So they're trying to get to the finish line. They're going to give them everything that they've got. Mac Jones almost, pulled the Jaguars over the Jets on Sunday. Almost had that victory. I thought that they were going to win that one. I'm sure Raider Nation was actually rooting for the Jaguars to win that one for multiple reasons. One, they could just win another game, and two, so the Jets and Devontae Adams lose another one. But they pulled that one out at the end. So there's no love lost there between the Raiders and Devontae. So that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, man, I mean, the Jaguars, they've got talent, as you know. So it should be at the very least an interesting game come Sunday.
They lost 12-7 to Minnesota about 3 weeks ago. That's just who they are, man. They'll play you and they'll get into the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden, Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So here's the $1 million question: not who's going to win, whose fan base wants them to win. Because the Jaguars, they want to beat everybody. They don't care about draft selections. They feel like Balk is going to mess it up anyway. And then they're coming off of a year where they pick maybe the third or fourth best player in the draft. In a lot of people's opinion, they got him at 23. So it's almost like, don't let him pick early. Let him fall down and pick late so something will fall to him. You guys, your fans probably don't want to win this game at all, though, because that knocks them even further back from the quarterback scenario that they like.
Yeah, for the most part, most of Raider Nation is not rooting for a win. They're not. And I say this all the time. I'm never going to pull for a loss. It's just not in me. I'm just not going to root for a loss. But when the Raiders lose these days, it's a lot more acceptable, right? It's a lot more acceptable because you know what the end result could potentially be. Like you have in Jacksonville, you have your franchise quarterback. The Raiders haven't had a franchise quarterback in quite a bit. They had Derek Carr for 9 years, and he stabilized the position. But when you've got Mahomes, Herbert, and now Bo Nix in your division, you want that difference maker. So I think that they need to go get that guy, but I'm not going to actively campaign for them to lose games because it's just not in me, and it's not really in Raider Nation. But I think a lot more the fan base is saying, yeah, I'm okay. If they lose, I can deal with that. It's not a problem.
All right, so you asked me the question, who would it be? Lately, Travis Hunter's kind of hit. He don't want to come down here. So the one thing about Jaguar fans, if you act like you don't want to be here, they don't want you. So they're going probably, you see a lot of people talk about the corner from Michigan, the tall kid.
Okay,
the other kid at Michigan, Mason Graham, the defensive tackle. Mm-hmm. Or I'm hearing a little bit of Tretoria McMillan talk to pair him with Brian Thomas Jr., the next Mike Evans, some people think. So they can't go wrong either way if they end up with a really good player.